I am a super freak who can infinitely transform and become strong by eating trash. Not only that, even living corpses, and things cursed, can be broken down and annihilated into molecules by me, becoming nutrients within my body. All because in this world, where fierce beasts roam everywhere, and even ordinary gods walk, every adult awakens a unique talent ability. And I was originally a genius who awakened the gifted talent of a teleportation gate. I never thought the teleportation gate would unexpectedly malfunction, and any object teleported would be crushed into dregs. Just as I despairingly thought that this was a useless talent, I was surprisingly delighted to feel the teleportation gate's great compensation. Everything that was teleported and decomposed would allow me to gain related chi and blood, abilities, and even generous talent compensation. From then on, in this world, all items would become my nutrients. According to information released by officials, the admission standard for ordinary martial arts universities is a chi and blood value of 150. For first-class martial arts universities, the admission standard is a chi and blood value of 270. As the words of the homeroom teacher, Xiaolong, came through, the class group instantly became lively. Luo Chuan, 121 chi and blood value. There's still a year, enough time to reach 150. Zhong, you just reached 230 today. First class, university, is a sure thing. What about Ding Shuai, the class beauty? Has her chi and blood value broken through 270? While everyone was discussing enthusiastically, inside an old room, I was leaning back on the sofa, the chat interface on my phone constantly flickering, reflected in my eyes. On the day of my awakening 2 years ago, I transmigrated here and successfully awakened the A-grade talent teleportation gate. I originally thought my future would be smooth sailing, and I would rise rapidly. However, who could have expected that the talent teleportation gate I awakened would unexpectedly malfunction? Any item teleported would be annihilated into molecules. Originally, relying on the teleportation gate's ability to travel freely, whether launching a surprise attack in battle or transporting personnel and supplies, it would be unstoppable. But now, as soon as any item enters the teleportation gate, it is immediately destroyed and annihilated, leaving no dregs behind. Using it for teleportation is almost equivalent to seeking death. It was clearly an A-grade talent, yet it was useless for cultivation. The talent became a useless talent, and I became a joke in everyone's eyes. With a long sigh, I withdrew my gaze from my phone. To say I didn't envy others' talents would definitely be a lie. In this world, fierce beasts rampage, and martial artists are the absolute force against fierce beasts. Therefore, martial artists not only hold a lofty status in this world, but also enjoy various privileges. It can be said that becoming a martial artist for ordinary people is the best way to cross social classes. It's just a pity that although the talent I awakened was a grade, it was a useless talent. Saying this, I stood up and walked to an empty space nearby. I squatted down, raised my hands, and vigorously swung them. At this moment, what I was cultivating was a cultivation method uniformly taught by the school upon entering senior high. True Dragon Zhuanggong. Cultivating Zhuanggong can increase one's chi and blood value. Of course, this method is extremely slow in improving chi and blood. Generally, only poor people choose to use this method to increase their chi and blood. Wealthy families often accelerate the increase of chi and blood value by consuming chi and blood pills or by eating fierce beast meat, to accelerate the increase of chi and blood value. However, for me, with my impoverished family background, this method is clearly impossible to achieve. Not to mention chi and blood pills costing tens of thousands, even the most ordinary fierce beast meat costs several hundred per gene. For me, an orphan, this is unaffordable. After a long time, I only stopped my movements when I felt my body was tired. After a short rest, I stood up and walked to something resembling a weighing scale nearby. Stood on it. Looking at the number 43 displayed on the chi and blood measuring device, I seemed to have expected it long ago. Calmly, I stepped down from the measuring device. Due to the lack of cultivation brought by natural talent and bonuses, even though I cultivated diligently every day for the past 2 years, my cultivation level still remained at the bottom of the class. The 200 blood chi points required to become a dancer was an even greater world apart. In the words of our homeroom teacher, Xiaolong, "You're not suited for cultivation. You should drop out early and learn a trade." Leaving the blood chi measurement area, maybe I really should give up. A hint of relief appeared on my face. After a while, when I felt a surge about to strike, I took a can of Fanta from the table. As a series of swallowing sounds rang out, The can of Fanta was quickly finished. Then I swung my right hand and threw the bottle aside. At the same time, a portal opened, revealing a deep black hole that swallowed the bottle. Habitually, after throwing out the trash, I went to bed to rest. Suddenly, a mysterious voice rang in my ear. Due to a malfunction in the transmission space of this plane, causing objects to loosen, compensating you with 0.05 blood chi. Hearing this voice, my body shot up from the bed. System. In an instant, a light screen appeared before me. Name: Su Qingquang Martial Art. True Dragon Zhuang Gong 42%. Requires 18% more proficiency to advance to the minor accomplishment realm. Blood chi value, 43. Requires 157 more blood chi points to upgrade to a formal dancer. Looking at the mysterious panel that suddenly appeared before my eyes, I instantly showed an expression like Ji Gong returning home. It's finally here. Staring at the mysterious panel before me, in an instant, a wave of extremely strong urge to cry surged from deep within me. However, I quickly forcefully suppressed this thought. Just now, I threw a can in there, and that's when it reacted. Thinking of this, I immediately sprang from the bed and rushed to the refrigerator. I quickly took out the unopened, ice-cold Fanta from inside, and threw it directly into the black hole formed by the talent portal. Soon, the black hole swallowed the Fanta. Under my expectant gaze, the mysterious voice once again rang in my ear. 1 bottle of Fanta damaged, compensating 0.05 blood chi. Hearing this voice, my mouth instantly split into a grin. 1 bottle of Fanta can compensate 0.05 blood chi? Doesn't that mean 20 bottles of Fanta can compensate 1 blood chi point? Although I had never taken a blood chi pill, I had heard about them. Even under perfect absorption, 1 blood chi pill could only increase blood chi by 1 point. Doesn't this mean 20 bottles of Fanta are equivalent to the effect of 1 blood chi pill? In an instant, I was so excited I could barely speak. I couldn't afford blood chi pills that cost tens of thousands each, but Fanta, which cost a few yuan per bottle, could I not afford that? Afterwards, I seemed to fall into a frenzy. My hands moved like phantom shadows, darting back and forth in the refrigerator at an extremely fast pace. Soon, the Fanta in the refrigerator vanished without a trace. After I finished, I looked back at the panel. At this moment, I found that my blood chi had already become 44. Looking at the now empty refrigerator, I suddenly seemed to understand something. I abruptly stopped my actions. Wait a minute. Since destroying trash can grant blood chi compensation, then I can go look for it in the neighborhood. Annoyed, I slapped my own head, as punishment for doing something foolish. I immediately went out, heading straight for the trash cans downstairs. When I arrived downstairs, I saw that not only were the trash cans overflowing, but there was also a considerable amount of trash piled up next to them. I quickly walked up to the trash cans. Then, using both my hands and feet, I began throwing the trash into the black hole portal beside me. 1 bag of mixed debris damaged, compensating 0.1 blood chi. 1 bag of trash damaged, compensating 0.05 blood chi. In front of the trash cans, my face was beaming. Compared to at home, the efficiency here was much higher. My mood also became increasingly wonderful. Not long after, I have already cleared all the trash in the community. After finishing everything, I opened the panel. I found that my vitality had already risen to 65. In a short amount of time, my vitality increased by 22. This was equivalent to more than 20 chi blood pills fully exerting their potency. I was instantly overjoyed. At this rate, I will soon reach the 200 vitality required to become a dancer. Vitality comes from life itself. I turned and walked towards the floor where I lived. After a period of rapid leveling up, I was no longer satisfied with the small task of clearing trash in the community. Compared to the trash within the community, the trash recycling station in my residential area undoubtedly had much more trash. By finding a job as a recycling collector at the trash recycling station, my leveling speed would be even faster. Not only that, but I would also get paid then. For me, this was undoubtedly a win-win situation. Waking up early the next day, feeling the surging vitality within my body, after a simple wash-up, I munched on a few bags of instant noodles to fill my stomach, then headed straight for the nearby trash recycling station. After verifying that my talent could indeed clear trash, I successfully joined the southern trash station, becoming a trash recycling collector. Led by the staff, I quickly arrived at my workstation. Then I eagerly approached the trash pile, opened the teleportation gate, and began working. as a black hole appeared in the air beside me, destroyed 1 bag of trash, vitality plus 0.04. The system notification sound in my ear rang out again. My vitality and physical strength also began to rapidly increase. However, as my vitality increased, I also discovered an anomaly. Destroying the same items did not always grant the same vitality compensation. The vitality compensation seemed more like a random occurrence, or perhaps it contained some rule I had yet to discover. However, I didn't dwell on this issue. I continued to wholeheartedly dedicate myself to the trash-clearing work. There was no other way. The feeling of vitality increasing was simply too wonderful. 2 hours passed. At this point, the trash on the open ground had been completely cleared by me. At the same time, my vitality also surged from 65 in the morning to 97, a full increase of 32 vitality points. This was almost comparable to the benefit of 40 chi blood pills. This result filled me with joy. I clapped my hands and stood up, walking to the side with a smile on my face. Because of the sudden surge in vitality, I felt hungry again. I planned to rest for a while, eat something, and then continue. It was currently July. Although it was only 10 o'clock, the scorching sun was still unbearable. When I arrived at a shady spot not far away, I found that quite a few people had already gathered there, chatting in small groups. Seeing me approach, a kind-faced uncle spoke up and asked, "My name is Zhang Rudin. You can call me Uncle Zhang. Your talent is very suitable for trash-clearing work." As he spoke, a hint of envy flashed in Zhang Rudin's eyes. Later, during my conversation with Zhang Russian, I learned that trash-clearing work actually had many intricacies. It truly benefited me greatly. After eating my fill and drinking, I returned to the trash site. I continued to immerse myself in the thrill of leveling up. Unconsciously, the trash pile in front of me was almost gone. Feeling a bit tired, I muttered to myself, "After I deal with this trash, I'll go rest for a while." I glanced at the remaining trash in front of me. My gloved hand casually picked up a bag of trash and threw it towards the black hole beside me. Destroyed 1 cruel martial arts manual. 5 constants True Dragon Zhuanggong. Proficiency plus 0.1%. Hearing the system notification, my heart skipped a beat. Then I opened the system interface. Name: Su Qingquang Martial Art. True Dragon Zhuanggong. 42%. Still needs 18% proficiency to advance to the small accomplishment realm. Vitality: 121. Still needs 79 vitality to upgrade to a formal dancer. For the True Dragon Zhuanggong, which I had already cultivated for 2 years, I understand very well. The True Dragon stance, as the foundational cultivation method for martial arts students, not only enhances vital energy, but also relates to a martial artist's realm breakthroughs. To become a martial artist, besides needing to meet the requirement of 200 vital energy points, one also needs to cultivate the True Dragon stance to the minor accomplishment realm, which means reaching 60% proficiency. Laying the foundation for martial arts, only then can one break through and become a martial artist. This requirement seems simple, but in reality, it is extremely time-consuming and energy-intensive for a martial artist. This True Dragon Manner strategy guide, in its later stages, led to chaotic cultivation and menstrual cycles if it weren't for the school's requirement that to become a martial artist, one must cultivate the True Dragon stance to minor accomplishment before breaking through. Most students probably wouldn't have the patience and would rush to break through for quick success. From snippets of conversation among the teachers, I learned that those true prodigies, the favored children of heaven meticulously nurtured by major powers, all strive to cultivate the True Dragon stance as much as possible, raising it above 80% proficiency before breaking through. Otherwise, with their talent and resources, they could have become martial artists much earlier in their youth. Why would they bother to solidify their foundation and waste decades of time for nothing? And for the True Dragon stance above 80% proficiency, every 1% increase might cost a year of time and effort. As for the perfected realm with 100% proficiency, I have never even heard of it. How could there be a madman who spends their entire life not becoming a martial artist, wasting a lifetime of time and energy just to solidify their foundation? Most martial artists in this world achieve their breakthroughs by relying on the True Dragon stance at the minor accomplishment realm. Seeing the damaged martial arts manuals, I can directly increase my proficiency. A look of joy immediately appeared on my face. In this garbage recycling station, there are definitely not few damaged martial arts manuals. One day later, accompanied by a series of system notification sounds, I brought up the system panel. Name: Su Qingquang Martial Art. True Dragon Stance. 100%. has reached the perfected realm. Vital energy. 200 can break through to become a formal martial artist. Looking at the system interface displaying 200 vital energy points, and the notification that I could break through to become a formal martial artist, a smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. Becoming a martial artist has always been my dream. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to calm down. Then I came to an open space. Swinging my arms, I circulated the true dragon stance, beginning to feel the vital energy within my body. Driven by the perfected true dragon stance, the vital energy within my body quickly began to circulate naturally. Feeling the hot current continuously flowing within my body like a swimming dragon, transforming my body, making my body continuously stronger, I fully circulated the true dragon stance. Following this was a wave of comfort that passed through my body and reached my soul. I succeeded. At this moment, the thought arose in my mind, and this idea flashed through my heart. And with my breakthrough, the true dragon stance I was circulating suddenly increased greatly in power. I waved my hands, and the air seemed to solidify, like flowing water, condensing into a vortex in the air, as if a tornado enveloped me. On the other side, in a luxuriously decorated room, a man in black and a middle-aged man were originally leisurely savoring suddenly. As if he sensed something, he looked up and gazed out the window. Is this fluctuation caused by a martial artist breaking through, or by a fierce beast descending? The newcomer said something. The man moved his feet, and instantly arrived at the window. Then his figure moved slightly, jumping out the window and heading towards the direction from which the fluctuation came. It felt like while the middle-aged man was rushing on the other side, gradually adapting to the powerful physique, I began to slowly stop circulating the true dragon stance. The strong winds howled. As I stopped circulating the true dragon stance, the tornado condensed in the air also began to rapidly dissipate. Soon, the tornado vanished without a trace. Afterwards, it was as if he sensed something. I turned my head to look at the people who had entered behind me, my gaze sweeping over several men. It quickly focused on the one standing in the middle, a middle-aged man in black. My intuition told me that he was also a dancer. "Little friend Sue," the man in black said with a smile, nodding slightly. "If it's convenient, come inside with me for a chat." Hearing the man in black's invitation, I pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, based on the identities of the people next to the man, I had actually already guessed his identity, the person in charge of the Nanfeng junkyard. As for why he would seek me out, it was very likely because of the commotion I caused during my recent breakthrough. Hearing my agreement, Huang Feng turned and gave a few instructions to the people beside him, then quickly led me to a spacious and luxurious room. After we took our seats, Huang Feng immediately introduced himself. "My name is Huang Feng. I am the person in charge of this Nanfeng junkyard, and also a dancer. I presume you don't know much about dancers. As someone who's been through it, I'll give you a simple explanation. For new dancers, after becoming a dancer, it's a choice between the martial arts path and the combat factory. Of course, this information can be easily found in the dancer forums. But after you pass the dancer certification, you will soon understand another matter. After becoming a dancer, you can choose to go to a martial arts hall for dancer certification, or you can go to the official agency's dancer department for certification. What I'm about to explain to you are the differences between these two types of dancer certification." Listening to Huang Feng's explanation, I involuntarily felt a cold sweat. Although during my time at school, teachers would occasionally mention things about dancers, most students were not actual dancers, which meant I didn't have much understanding of the relevant situations concerning dancers. Dancer certification. If you choose to go to a martial arts hall for dancer certification, then you are considered to have implicitly joined that martial arts hall. From then on, you can enjoy the related benefits provided by the martial arts hall. Taking the Jidao Martial Arts Hall, where I belong, as an example, with the chief curator, the world's strongest individual, in charge, the martial arts techniques and cultivation resources that Jidao Martial Arts Hall can provide to dancers are far beyond what official agencies can compare to. Of course, the official side also has its advantages. If you choose the official department for dancer certification, you will become an official dancer. At that time, you will enjoy numerous rights and benefits. This is also something martial arts hall dancers cannot match. I lowered my head and began to ponder. Huang Zhong's words were very clear. Becoming an official dancer means choosing the path of power, while becoming a martial arts hall dancer means choosing the path of strength. Both have their pros and cons. Soon I made up my mind to become a martial arts hall dancer. For me, who has the advantage of a cheat, becoming strong is undoubtedly the path I should choose. After learning that I would go to a martial arts hall and chatting for a while longer, Huang Feng then spoke earnestly. If there's anything you don't understand later on, you can contact me anytime. I imagine you're eager to go to the martial arts hall right now for dancer certification. So I won't keep you, I replied. Then I'll go get my dancer certification first. With that said, I headed straight for the Jidao Martial Arts Hall's lynching branch. Just as Huang Feng had said, at this moment, I was already impatient to go and get my dancer certification. Moreover, I was full of curiosity about the world after becoming a dancer. Soon after, I arrived in front of a magnificent building. I stepped inside the Jidao Martial Arts Hall. While I was on my way to the Jidao Martial Arts Hall for dancer certification, inside Huang Zhong's room, a young girl wearing a blue short-sleeved shirt walked out, who looked about my age. Uncle Huang, does he have any special qualities worthy of such treatment from you? The blue-clad youth voiced the doubt in his heart. Something was wrong with his physique. That feeling. At least it's something one would have after cultivating the true dragon stance to its peak realm, and then breaking through to become a dancer. Huang Feng stated his guess. His answer made a flash of profound shock appear in the youth's eyes. The true dragon stance at the peak realm. That was a realm he had never even reached. At this moment, he finally understood why Imperial Uncle was so polite to me. Meanwhile, Huang Feng had already picked up his phone and began to call Manager Zhuge. I'm preparing to recommend a dancer to join the martial arts hall. His name is Su Jinquang. He will go to the martial arts hall shortly for dancer certification. He broke through to become a dancer by mastering the true dragon stance to its peak realm. On the other side, after entering the Jidao Martial Arts Hall, I walked straight towards the dancer certification area. However, just then, a voice came from beside me. You must be young friend Su, dressed in a long gray robe. He looked just like Zhuge Liang, an ancient strategist. Looking at me, Huang Feng already called me just now. He also told me about your situation. If it's convenient, follow me inside for a moment, because I was inside the Jidao Martial Arts Hall, and the other party mentioned Huang Feng. So, after hearing the other party's invitation, I didn't hesitate and immediately agreed. As Zhuge Ku led the way inside, I entered a room with a simple style and a huge area. This is where I occasionally cultivate. After we arrived, Zhuge Ku turned around, looked at me, Qianxia, and said, on the phone, Huang Feng told me some of your basic information. However, I've always believed that hearing is not as good as seeing. Seeing is believing. As he spoke, Zhuge Ku assumed a stance, then extended a hand towards me. Seeing Zhuge Ku's movement, I didn't hesitate, and immediately assumed the true dragon stance. Waving both hands, I attacked Zhuge Ku. The true dragon stance is currently the only martial art I have mastered. Although the core function of this martial art is to increase vital energy, it also possesses a certain degree of offensive power. As I waved my hands, beside me, the air immediately began to circulate rapidly, accompanying me as I attacked Zhuge Ku. However, facing my attack, Zhuge Ku merely raised one hand and easily struck it down. With a single move, Zhuge Ku easily defeated me. However, on his face, there was no joy of victory to be seen at this moment. Instead, his brows were tightly furrowed. Zhuge Ku looked at me, his expression serious, and his tone mixed with a hint of caution. Your true dragon stance is not at the peak realm. Zhuge Ku looked at me. In his gaze, unconsciously, there was a hint of anticipation. Looking at Zhuge Ku's cautious expression, a trace of doubt flashed through my heart, but I still nodded and said, I broke through to become a dancer by mastering the true dragon stance to its perfect realm. Although he already had a guess in his heart, when he heard my definite answer, on Zhuge Ku's face, there was still an expression of disbelief. After all, in lynching, a practitioner of the true dragon stance at the perfect realm appearing. Tracing back online, it was already more than 10 years ago, and that individual has now become a renowned martial god, a powerful expert of the human race. And this was also why Zhuge Ku, upon hearing my definite answer, was momentarily lost in thought. The true dragon stance at the perfect realm forges a martial arts foundation, meaning I have the potential to break through to the martial god realm, and a powerful expert at the martial god realm. Not to mention the Jidao martial arts hall in Linqing, even in the entire human race, can be considered a top-tier expert. After everything was completely confirmed, Zhuge Ke's gaze towards me grew increasingly fervent. Are you interested in becoming a contracted dancer for my extreme martial arts hall? Looking at me, Zhuge Ke's gaze was full of enthusiasm. After receiving my affirmative reply, a look of joy immediately appeared on Zhuge Ke's face. After that, he began to guide me through the process of dancer certification, as well as the relevant procedures for becoming a contracted dancer. Afterwards, I opened the Extreme Martial Arts Hall's critique. The purpose was to select the martial arts techniques and weapons I intended to cultivate, because it became a chapter of the Jidao Martial Arts School. Contracted dancer. My gaze began to wander among the many martial arts techniques. Finally, I selected a cultivation method called Azure Dragon Martial Arts. After filling in the address, immediately, I clicked on the dialogue option. The Azure Dragon Martial Arts technique was one I chose after multiple comparisons, a martial arts technique, which allows one to cultivate the Azure Dragon martial body. And once the Azure Dragon martial body is cultivated, then physical strength, speed, defense, and other attributes will be greatly enhanced. When battling dancers of the same cultivation realm, one will gain a significant advantage. Cultivating the Azure Dragon martial body to its peak, one can even transform into the legendary Azure Dragon, unleashing power that obscures the sky and sun and destroys heaven and earth. Not long after I chose to redeem the cultivation method, my room door was soon knocked upon. Looking at the Azure Dragon martial arts manual in my hand, I couldn't help but murmur to myself, I wonder if destroying the Azure Dragon martial arts manual will allow me to directly comprehend this martial arts technique. Filled with anticipation, I took the Azure Dragon martial arts manual, glowing with a faint light, and threw it into the black hole beside me. Destroyed one complete upper volume of the Azure Dragon martial arts technique. Proficiency in the 5 constants Azure Dragon martial arts method reached 20 as the system's notification sound rang out. My mind was instantly filled with many inexplicable memories. Inside the empty room, a slender figure sometimes sat cross-legged, closing their eyes to visualize the shadow of the Azure Dragon in their mind. Other times, they would stand up, moving their body like an Azure Dragon soaring across the vast sky. Time slowly flowed by. The new figure persisted day after day until one day, a flash of azure light suddenly erupted from the youth's body. Following that, a mighty dragon's roar echoed throughout the room. After becoming a contracted dancer for the Extreme Martial Arts Hall, I not only obtained martial arts techniques, but also gained the right to redeem one 5G. And while I was busy selecting the 5G on the other side, Zhuge Ke had arrived in a room with an ancient and simple decor, a solemn room. Looking at the burly man before him, the situation of holding me the burly man, upon hearing that I was a complete true Dragon Duke, a dancer who had broken through to achieve this, his eyes immediately lit up. Then he murmured to himself, Linqing, how many years has it been since such dancing talent appeared? Indeed, only under the guidance of my Lei Zhan Yingling Shenwu, only by gathering at the martial arts hall in the early morning can it flourish and completely surpass the Thunder God martial arts hall. Listening to Lei Zhan's self-aggrandizement, Zhuge Ke's lips couldn't help but twitch. Meanwhile, after a meticulous selection process, I finally settled on a saber technique, 9 Heavens Azure Dragon Slash. This was an offensive technique that complemented the Azure Dragon martial arts technique and mutually enhanced it. Cultivating this technique to its peak, one could not only unleash 81 reflections at once, but also stack up 81 times the attack power. With such terrifying attack power, almost no dancer or fierce beast of the same realm could withstand it. After placing the order, staff from the Extreme Martial Arts Hall soon arrived at my door to deliver the weapon. Without the slightest hesitation, I immediately took the unrefined manual of the 9 Heavens Azure Dragon Slash and threw it into the black hole beside me. At the same time, a system notification sound rang out. Destroyed one complete 9 Heavens Azure Dragon Slash. Upper tier 5 long 9 Heavens Azure Dragon Slash proficiency 20%. Felt the memories of the 9 Heavens Azure Dragon Slash surge into my mind. I unconsciously clenched my hands, as if holding a long saber in my hand. But after grasping empty air, I then realized I didn't have a saber at all. I slowly withdrew from that state I was just in. I'll go buy a long saber in a while to test the power of the 9 Heavens Azure Dragon Slash. Saying this, I opened the system interface. Su Xinquang, Stage 1 Dancer, Body Refining Purity. True Dragon Zhuang Gong 100% has reached the consummate stage. Azure Dragon Martial Dao Method 20% still needs 20% proficiency to be promoted to the minor success realm. 9 Heavens Azure Dragon / 20% still needs 20% proficiency to be promoted to the minor success realm. Looking at the system interface, which displayed the 9 Heavens Azure Dragon / already at the initiation level, I nodded my head in satisfaction. Then I closed the system interface. Just then, Zhuge Ku sent over a message inviting me to become a combatant. Looking at the combatant mentioned in the message with some confusion, I opened a link sent by Zhuge Ku. A combatant is a role within the Jidao Martial Arts Academy for cultivating genius dancers, a position specifically established for this. To become a combatant of the Jidao Martial Arts Academy, one needs to participate on time each month in a fixed number of fierce beast competitions and combatant matches. From the link sent by Zhuge Ku, I learned that the combatants of the Jidao Martial Arts Academy are specifically a job position responsible for fighting fierce beasts. This position has extremely high requirements for its personnel. It can be said that every combatant is a martial arts genius. It can even be said that the existence of this position is precisely to cultivate these martial arts geniuses. And precisely because of this, the benefits of this job position are extremely generous. After understanding the situation of combatants, I also became a bit more curious about this position. I sent an affirmative reply to Zhuge Ku. Then, following the Martial Arts Academy's directional signs, I soon arrived at a massive dueling arena. This arena was vast in area, its decor solemn and stark. It looked like a battlefield, giving off an iron-blooded feeling. After scanning the arena with my gaze, I casually found a seat in the audience stands. I also wanted to take this opportunity to learn about other dancers. As soon as I sat down, I heard, not far away, the chatter of dancers in the audience stands. Who do you think will win this arena match? Madman Jian or Dark Knight Grey Wolf? Hard to say. Combatants generally possess combat power far surpassing those of the same stage. Although Madman Jian is still a stage 1 dancer, in terms of strength, he has long since reached the second stage dancer's level of power. But Dark Knight Grey Wolf, after all, is no ordinary fierce beast. In terms of strength, among second stage fierce beasts, few are stronger than him. The two people's discussion made my gaze turn from the arena to an electronic screen on the side. It displayed 2 profiles. One of them was a young man dressed in white. A common youth bearing a burden on the other side was a massive gray beast with a contorted face. Then the arena in the middle of the venue flashed with a streak of dazzling white light. At the same time, a white-clothed figure appeared in the middle of the arena. This person was none other than Madman Jian, Liao. Another stage cleared. A loud wolf-like howl rang out. Another serving of koik seed paste, both eyes reddened, filled with craving. A massive gray figure, blood-red in color, appeared on the arena. The second stage fierce beast, Dark Knight Grey Wolf. I watched the person and the beast confronting each other in the arena. At one point, the Dark Knight Grey Wolf seemed to transform into an afterimage and charged towards Liao. The air itself seemed about to be torn apart. I sat in the audience stands watching the arena with focused eyes. After several rounds of clashes, I could already tell that Liao and the Dark Knight Grey Wolf on the stage, their strengths were actually evenly matched. And while I was thinking, the battle on the arena stage had already reached its final phase. Whether it was Liao or Dark Knight Grey Wolf, both had suffered severe injuries. And in this situation, both of them were eager to kill the other. Therefore, at this moment, their confrontation became more perilous. It seemed as if life and death would be decided in the next instant. At one point, just as Liao and Dark Knight Grey Wolf were about to engage in close combat, a flash of silver light streaked through the air, dazzling everyone so they couldn't open their eyes. On the arena stage, Dark Knight Grey Wolf clearly hadn't anticipated such a sudden turn of events. He instinctively paused for an instant, and it was in that very instant that the ordinary sword in Liao's hand, like a bolt of lightning, slashed across Dark Knight Grey Wolf's body. Then it quietly settled back into his hand. At this moment, the stern-faced Liao sheathed his long sword back into its scabbard. Then, without looking back, he walked towards the other side of the arena. Meanwhile, Dark Knight Grey Wolf on the other side seemed to have frozen in place, standing motionless in the middle of the arena. Suddenly, a violent thud echoed. Dark Knight Grey Wolf's body crashed heavily onto the arena stage. At the same time, a fine line of blood appeared on his body. Accompanying it was the slowly flowing fresh blood. The numerous spectators who witnessed this scene also erupted in fervent shouts. Although everyone present was a martial artist, facing the scene before them, many couldn't help but cheer loudly. After all, blades and swords, life and death, are what most easily stimulate human nerves. What's more, Liao had fought above his rank today, with a cultivation of the first rank. He defeated the peak second rank beast strength Dark Knight Grey Wolf. Compared to others, my emotions were relatively stable. I turned my head and glanced around, then stood up and walked out of the venue. This arena match was over, and it was time for me to participate in my own arena match. On my way to watch the 5th arena match, I had already communicated with the head of the arena department, based on the message Zhuge Ku sent yesterday, to confirm my participation in an arena match shortly. Meanwhile, in an office, a man dressed in the uniform of a Jidao Martial Arts Academy staff member bowed slightly and respectfully reported, "Minister, are you really going to arrange for the peak second rank Dark Knight Grey Wolf, with its peak second rank strength, to be Su Qingquang's opponent in the arena match?" Su Qingquang, the fighter, just recently certified as a martial artist, arranging a peak second rank ferocious beast. What if something unexpected happens? The staff member looked up at the burly man sitting behind the desk, who was also his direct superior, Zhuo Yi. A worried expression appeared on his face. Zhuo Yi raised his head and gave his subordinate a cold glance, saying coldly, "Just do as I instructed. I will personally be present to witness it, so nothing unexpected will happen to him." Hearing Zhuo Yi say this, the staff member could only nod and slowly retreated. And once the staff member's figure disappeared, Zhuo Yi couldn't help but say coldly, as soon as he became a martial artist, he rushed to participate in an arena match. He really treats this place like a children's game. This time, I'll make sure you learn a good lesson, so you don't implicate others when you go to the beast battlefield later. As the person in charge of matters related to the arena matches, Zhuo Yi had actually always felt a sense of crisis regarding the existence of the dual arena matches. He wanted to abolish the special group of dual fighters, or apply the rules of betting on arena matches to other arena matches as well. In this way, the arena matches could bring substantial profits to the Jidao Martial Arts Academy. And as the person in charge of the arena matches, he would naturally benefit from it, greatly enhancing his position in the Jidao Martial Arts Academy. Internal status and influence. At this moment, I took the long saber handed to me by a staff member as well as the combat data. Looking at the opponent, Nightfall Grey Wolf, recorded in the data. I frowned slightly immediately. A smile slowly appeared on my face. Putting away the data, I stepped towards the arena facing the Nightfall Grey Wolf. I still had confidence. Arriving before a silver-white door, I stepped inside. Then a sudden, weightless ship capture that traversed time and space. When I opened my eyes again, what I saw was a familiar scene: 5 combat arenas on the other side. Zhuge Ku had just arrived at the lounge where I had been. "Where's Su Qingquang?" Arriving at the lounge and not seeing me, Zhuge Ku immediately asked as he spoke. His expression was unusually serious. It was no wonder he was like this. Upon hearing that I was to be arranged to fight a Tier 2 fierce beast, Zhuge Ku was almost scared to death. I, who had only been certified as a martial artist yesterday, my current strength could be said to be among the weakest of the martial artists. Even facing an ordinary Tier 1 fierce beast, I probably couldn't defeat it, let alone a peak Tier 2. Nightfall Grey Wolf. In terms of strength, going up against it would be almost certain death. To let someone who had cultivated the true Dragon Grand technique to the perfect realm, whose physique had broken through 100, a martial arts genius capable of cultivating martial arts techniques, fall into such peril. "Zhuo Yi, I think you're tired of living." Zhuge Ku's face was as cold as frost at this moment. On one hand, he was furious. On the other hand, he was also afraid. He didn't dare to imagine the consequences if something truly happened to me, what consequences he would face. That was a martial arts genius with the potential of a martial god on the martial arts arena. I looked around and found that the audience seats in the arena already had quite a few people seated at this moment. These people were looking at me and discussing animatedly. After all, a new combatant fighting a Tier 2 fierce beast like the Nightfall Grey Wolf also greatly piqued their interest. In one of the seats, a broad-shouldered youth was originally talking to himself while recording a video. "My luck is really good today. Not only did I get to see my idols battle, but I can also see another combatant's arena match." The youth spoke. His gaze turned to me on the arena. The moment he saw me, the youth seemed to have received an immense shock. His eyes were instantly filled with astonishment regarding the reactions of the crowd below. I merely glanced indifferently before retracting my gaze and looked towards the other side of the arena where the fierce beast would appear later. At this moment, a slight anticipation also arose in my heart. After all, ever since becoming a martial artist and cultivating martial arts techniques and weapons, I haven't had a real battle yet. This arena match could be said to be the first battle of my life, and as I was pondering in my mind on the other side, accompanied by a mighty roar, a massive gray figure appeared on the arena. Looking at the nightfall gray wolf that appeared on the arena, I tightened my grip on the long saber in my hand, concentrating. I began to circulate my martial arts techniques, and with the appearance of the nightfall gray wolf, a tumultuous roar also erupted from the audience below. Kill this beast. The combatant will surely win. Compared to fierce beasts, these great enemies of humanity, clearly, the martial artists present still supported me more, of course. There were also some who remained rational observers who were currently discussing me and the nightfall gray wolf, who had a greater chance of winning. A rookie martial artist, even a genius martial artist, would find it hard to be a match for the nightfall gray wolf. The nightfall gray wolf did not immediately launch an attack. Instead, it stood in place, shaking its massive head. A pair of bloodthirsty eyes continuously swept around my body, seemingly searching for weaknesses on my body, so that it could deliver a fatal blow in the next instant. Since you won't make a move, then I will. I coldly stared at the night gray wolf. I raised the long saber in my hand. The Azure Dragon martial arts technique and the Nine Heavens Azure Dragon Slash circulated simultaneously. In that instant, I felt my entire body being filled with power, and the long saber in my hand transformed into an outlet for that power. As I swung the long saber in my hand, a blue light, accompanied by a resounding dragon's roar, rang out. On the arena stage, a nascent blue light instantly attached itself to the long saber, and my figure was like a flash of lightning, appearing before the night gray wolf in an instant. Then I swung the long saber in my hand, slashing towards the night gray wolf. Upon sensing my movement, in the night gray wolf's eyes, a fleeting look of excitement flashed. Its pair of bloodthirsty demonic eyes were instantly filled with crimson. Its gray figure blurred into afterimages, rushing towards me. In its view, I was full of weaknesses from head to toe at this moment. Seizing this opportune moment, it could kill me. The next instant, accompanied by a piercing sound, the man and the wolf in the arena instantly intertwined. At this moment, a dazzling nascent blue light appeared on the arena stage, illuminating half of the arena. Under the shining light, the crowd in the spectator stands could no longer clearly see the situation on the arena stage. Everyone began discussing animatedly. Of course, while discussing, everyone's hearts were also surging with passion, their blood boiling. Clearly, this battle was even more spectacular than the previous arena fight. A moment later, the light dispersed. I was seen still standing calmly on the arena stage. The long saber in my hand had been sheathed at some unknown point and was held in my right hand. On the other side, the night gray wolf, which had just been fiercely bloodthirsty, was now motionless, quietly lying on the ground. A faint stream of blood flowed from its body, beginning to spread across the arena. Upon closer inspection, one would find that the night gray wolf had been, from top to bottom, sliced into two halves. When this scene entered everyone's eyes, a momentary silence fell over the audience, followed by enthusiastic cheers. Slaying the night gray wolf with one slash. This strength is probably comparable to a third-tier 5th-stage cultivator. This is the Azure Dragon Slash, Collection 1, Season 5, Day 9. Enthusiastic cheers resounded throughout the entire arena. My expression, however, remained calm. In fact, I even felt a sense of dullness and lack of interest in my heart. The fierce beast's strength is just average. Dazzling, I glanced at the night gray wolf, which had turned into a corpse. I withdrew my gaze and stepped towards one side of the arena, preparing to leave the arena and return to the lounge. However, before I could even take a step to leave, suddenly, a figure clad in a gray long robe appeared on the arena stage. The arena match hasn't even started yet. Appeared on the arena stage. Zhuge Ke looked at me, completely unharmed, in front of him. He let out a long breath. Just as he was about to speak, his gaze inadvertently swept to the side, where it was already split into two, with blood seeping into the arena, the corpse of the night gray wolf on the ground. At this moment, Zhuge Ke's gaze froze. He instantly looked at me. He's dead. At this moment, Zhuge Ke couldn't help but exclaim. His eyes were filled with unconcealable shock. The night gray wolf was a fierce beast at the peak of the 2nd tier, and I, a newly certified martial artist, actually managed to kill it. Soon, Zhuge Ke seemed to recall something. He urgently said, "Let's leave here first." As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped back and left the arena. Seeing this, I also followed him through the void gate, and with Zhuge Ke, returned once again to the lounge I had just left for the arena. As soon as we appeared inside the room, I then heard Zhuge Ke's urgent voice resound by my ear. You've mastered the 5 Dao methods and the 5 taboos? Zhuge Ke's eyes were fixed on me. Just a moment ago, he had already figured it out. There was one situation where it was indeed possible to kill the night gray wolf. That was to master both the martial Dao method and martial skill. But I had only been certified as a martial artist yesterday. Practicing martial Dao methods and martial skills, at most, it had only been one day. How could this be possible? I looked at Zhuge Ke. His expression was very familiar to me, because I had seen it not long ago. It was when Zhuge Ke asked me to confirm whether the true Dragon Manor Palace was complete. Mastered Hua Luo, I added softly. Both the Azure Dragon Martial Dao method and the 9 Heavens Azure Dragon Slash have been mastered. Although he already had a guess in his heart, after hearing my definite answer, Zhuge Ke was still utterly shocked beyond belief. In his heart, a complex emotion, indescribable and unclear, arose. There was the basic satisfaction of discovering a martial arts genius, and also a feeling of an old wave facing a new wave, a rising sense of wistful loss. As Zhuge Ke and I returned to the lounge in the audience stands of the 5 Dao Arena, there was still a heated discussion. Because the fierce beast race constantly threatened the human race's survival as martial artists, upon seeing my talent, everyone was not only not jealous but very happy. After all, the more strong individuals the human race had, the less pressure they would have to bear. Of course, among these martial artists there was also a powerfully built young man. At this moment, he sat in his seat, his face full of entanglement and melancholy. That expression was as if he had seen something incredible yet was unwilling to believe it. Is that really Su Qingquang? How is that possible? Didn't his talent turn into waste talent? How did he suddenly become a martial artist? And possess such strength? Zhong Yu slumped in his seat, utterly bewildered. He couldn't understand how this classmate of his, whose talent had been crippled before, had suddenly become a martial artist, and even a combatant of the Extreme Dao Martial Arts Hall, and possessed such formidable strength. After a while, Zhong Yu suddenly sat up. As if he had thought of something, he took out his phone and opened the video he had just recorded. Then he clicked share, found the class group, and quickly sent the video content to the class group. And it seemed he was worried that his classmates wouldn't be able to see the message immediately, so he kindly selected all members. Since I'm suffering, let everyone suffer together. Zhong Yu's face showed an expression of, let everyone be destroyed, he said grimly. He knew that when my talent was discovered to be a waste talent, many classmates had mocked him over the years. He really wanted to know what kind of expressions they would have after learning that I had become a martial artist. And not long after Zhong Yu sent the video, the class group quickly became lively. This is Su Qing. Su Qing from our class. Zhong Yu, where did you see this? How could Su Qing possibly have such powerful strength? Isn't this a fake video? As for everything that was happening there, I had no way of knowing. At this moment I was facing Zhuge Ke. After a long period of calming down, and accepting that I had indeed mastered both the Azure Dragon Martial Dao method and the 9 Heavens Azure Dragon Slash. After mastering these two martial arts, Zhuge Ke finally calmed down. He raised his head, looked at me and said, "Come, I'll take you to meet someone." Soon, under Zhuge Ke's lead, I arrived at the entrance of an office. At this point, Zhuge Ke turned around and explained to me, "I'm about to take you to see Lin Cheng, the head of the Extreme Dao Martial Arts Hall. His name is Lei Zhan, the head of the Extreme Dao Martial Arts Hall." Zhuge Ke's words made my pupils contract. As the world's #1 martial arts gym, even just the curator of the Lin City Martial Arts Gym branch was absolutely a big shot. Within the entirety of Lin City, in terms of status and position, only the city lord of Lin City could barely surpass him. Hearing that I was to meet this important figure, even though I was no longer what I used to be, my emotions couldn't help but fluctuate for a moment. But I quickly calmed down, and once again resumed a calm expression, because I was confident that one day I could also be as strong as him, or even stronger. And having calmed down, I followed Zhuge Ke into Lei Zhan's office. Soon I saw a powerfully built man. Unlike Zhuge Ke's refined temperament, Lei Zhan appeared much fiercer. If one were to say that Zhuge Ke gave off the feeling of an ancient strategist, then Lei Zhan gave off the feeling of a battle-hardened general. That was a temperament forged through countless experiences of life and death, and great challenges and bloodshed. "Captain, I've brought Su Qing." Seeing Lei Zhan, Zhuge Ke slightly lowered his head, then spoke. On the way to meet Lei Zhan, Zhuge Ku had already conveyed the relevant situation to Lei Zhan. So after hearing Zhuge Ku's words, Lei Zhan also nodded slightly. In Lei Zhan's thoughts, a hint of contemplation seemed to flash. He said, "Since the person has been brought, then you go handle other matters first. It's also time to let some people know the rules of the Jidao martial arts gym." Hearing Lei Zhan's words, Zhuge Ku's expression became solemn. Then he nodded and said, "I understand, curator." After saying this, Zhuge Ku stepped out of Lei Zhan's office. At this moment, Lei Zhan's gaze also turned to me. "You must be Su Xinquang." The moment he saw me, a smile appeared at the corner of Lei Zhan's mouth, and his expression softened a bit. "Come here. Your situation, Manager Zhuge has already told me about it. First, I welcome you, this talented martial artist, to join my Jidao martial arts gym." Lei Zhan, facing me, showed a very good attitude. A martial arts genius with the potential to become a martial god, even for him, was worthy of serious treatment. What's more, according to Zhuge Ku, I also possessed extraordinary comprehension in martial arts. In just one day, I could master 2 martial arts techniques and martial arts fundamentals. Even with a perfect martial arts foundation, forged by cultivating the true dragon cultivation method to its perfected realm, to reach such a level was absolutely extremely rare. Even with Lei Zhan's experience, he had never heard of anyone being able to achieve such a feat. In Lei Zhan's heart, he had even already determined at this moment that as long as I didn't die prematurely, I would inevitably become a martial god in the future. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, Lei Zhan's expression became serious. "I called you here today mainly to discuss 2 matters with you. The first matter, with the talent you have currently displayed, it is no longer appropriate to continue using the original level 1 contract. I will later change your contract level to S level. As the world's #1 martial arts gym, Jidao Martial Arts Gym is not just a simple martial arts organization. That's simple. In addition to that, it also bears the responsibility of cultivating martial artists. The reason I was able to sign a level 1 contract with Jidao Martial Arts Gym before was because I had cultivated the true dragon cultivation method to the perfect realm, forging a perfect martial arts foundation. I had the potential to become a martial god expert in the future. Under such circumstances, I only then received the treatment of a level 1 contracted martial artist. After discovering that in a short period, I had cultivated 2 martial arts techniques to the entry level, Lei Zhan, as the curator of Jidao Martial Arts Gym, felt that the treatment of a level 1 contracted martial artist was no longer commensurate with my talent. Detailed information I will forward to you later via the martial arts home platform. Hearing Lei Zhan's explanation, I nodded, no longer dwelling on the matter. However, in my heart, I was curious about the specific benefits an S-rank contract could offer. Besides this matter, there was one more thing. Just as I was pondering, Lei Zhan spoke again. His tone became extremely solemn. Even in Lei Zhan's voice, I could hear a chilling aura. As a new fighter, when participating in your first arena match, you encountered a second-tier fierce beast. I will give you an explanation for this matter. Lei Zhan's words were resolute. What happened today had indeed touched Lei Zhan's reverse scale. He dared not imagine if I really were in the arena today and something unexpected happened, or if I directly died by the hands of a fierce beast. What face would he still have to continue serving as the curator of the Jidao Martial Arts Academy? A genius martial artist, with the potential to become a martial god, didn't die on the fierce beast battlefield, but died in an internal struggle among his own people. As the curator of the Jidao Martial Arts Academy, out of consideration for camaraderie, plus the fact that the management within the Martial Arts Academy all came from the fierce beast front lines, therefore, even if these people often acted excessively on weekdays, Lei Zhan would mostly choose to turn a blind eye to it. But tolerance does not mean indulgence. What Shui did this time had already crossed Lei Zhan's bottom line. He had decided not to tolerate it any longer. Lei Zhan's words made me frown. As early as when I learned that my arena battle, the first match, would be against the second-tier fierce beast, the Night Grey Wolf, I already had doubts in my heart. It was only out of confidence in my own strength that I ultimately chose to step onto the arena. Originally, I thought I was overthinking it, perhaps arranging a second-tier fierce beast was a common practice, a way to give new fighters a warning. Now it seems that's probably not the case. Thinking this, a cold glint appeared in my eyes. Although I am usually gentle with people, this does not mean I am weak-willed, allowing someone who intends to harm me to live freely.